Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Snack for Maxwell quickly. I don't think we have gummies.
No, the gummies are food.
Yeah, where do we have fruit snacks?
That would be an interesting thing for us to take on, Jen, is trying to make our own.
Dried fruit snacks. Yes, you can eat that. Go for it.
We'd like some.
Eat that. Yeah. Good morning, everybody. We have a couple folks joining us this morning. Let's see.
Hello, folks.
Hello, folks.
Hello, folks.
That's like tagline.
I love that tagline, right? Are you going to stay here for the class, Maxwell, or are you going to go play in the other room? You can do either. Hello, Carrie's here. And Olivia and Amy are here. Good morning. Wait for a few more folks to join us. We've got about 6 joining us right now. I'm going to set my computer back up here. You can see on the bottom of the screen, it says to get your oven preheated to 425. Are you going to stay with me today? All right. Can you stay here on this chair so that I can sit on that chair? And I am going to make sure that everybody can see you because you will be light of the show today. Okay, I'm going to put this down a little bit. Good morning, Aunt Liz. I am so glad it's Friday. I hope everybody else feels that way too. It's been a long week getting school started this week, and
it's cold.
A little bit of rainy weather today.
Yeah.
And so we've got Marin here as well. Hi, Margot as well. We've got Margot joining us. Nice one for hi, Margot. Get down lower. Hi. Thanks, Marin. Love the scrolling banner. I know we're learning new tricks every day.
You're looking very professional, Jen.
So what I want to do is get our potatoes cooking. We are going to be making potato chips, and then Laura's going to make a homemade ketchup, and I'm going to make a garlic aioli and give you some other ideas for some dipping sauces for potato chips. I do love ketchup for my potatoes, but I do also like aioli. I do like mayo, so it is fitting. So you're going to get your oven preheated to 425. And then the next thing you're going to do is you're just going to get your potatoes sliced as thin as you can get them, ideally about 1/8 of an inch thin. A mandolin would work really well, but those are terrifying for little kids.
Yeah.
And so you may need some grown-up help with this to get them thin enough.
And can they stay with the peel on, or do you peel them?
I think that's totally up to you. I will admit that peeling potatoes is my very least favorite thing to do in the kitchen. So yeah, I'm not going to peel my potatoes. I'm going to keep them on, and I actually like them on around the edge. So we're just going to cut our potatoes thin. Oh, actually, I'm going to stop you for a second. Before we do that, I'm going to ask you to add your olive oil to your bowl where your potatoes are going to go. If we just put our potatoes and let it go, they may get a little browned, but if we toss them right away with olive oil, it'll be, they might not brown as much. So we're going to toss with about 1 to 2 tablespoons of olive oil, and it's sort of up to you. You just don't want them to be too greasy. You just want a light layer of olive oil.
Okay. Yeah, I suppose it depends how many, you're planning to make as well.
Yeah, it depends how many you're making. But we're just going to toss it. So I'm going to pour my olive oil in here. I'm going to do like 1.5. Well, that's a little too much. 1.5 tablespoons. And if you want, you can also add your salt at this point, which would be about, I don't know, it's kind of to taste. Let's say 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Okay. But here's the thing with these potatoes. You can make them any flavor you want. If you want a little bit of vinegar on your potatoes, like if you like sea salt and vinegar, then add a little extra salt and some vinegar. If you wanted to add cumin, you could do that. If you wanted to add Old Bay flavored potato chips, you can. This is where you can get a little bit creative. I'm going to go with some simple salt just because I prefer pretty basic potato chips, but
classic.
Yeah. Can you put that in?
Salt and vinegar sounds good to me.
I know. I do like salt and vinegar as well. So we're going to go ahead and chop our potatoes. Get them sliced nice and thin.
Mommy, can I stir?
One thing that would be a great way if you want kids to get involved with the chopping if you make a flat side on your potato like this and you go and you put it down so it's not rolling anymore, if you have a mezzaluna, you can actually cut pretty thin with the mezzaluna.
I was gonna say that.
You were gonna say that? And then you can cut nice and thin with your mezzaluna. And it's not a big deal. It just means that your potato chips have a half side that's flat. But this is a great way for kids to actually do the chopping and to practice getting them nice and thin. The thinner they are, the crispier they will be. If they're a little bit thicker, it's not a big deal. It just means that they will take a little bit longer to cook, and they may not get that real crispy flavor, but they're still gonna be delicious.
Now, Jen, what are your thoughts on using sweet potatoes?
I think it would be delicious. I don't know how long it'll take to cook, if it'll take longer, so you just have to kind of keep an eye on it. And I also think you could probably use whatever potatoes you have on hand.
Yep.
And the other thing I was going to say is if you were joining us just to make the ketchup because you don't have the potatoes, you could also make, you could also do this with like, if you have like tortillas, for example, put those up thin and put a little bit of olive oil and salt on them and make tortilla chips. Or if you have pita bread, you could do it with pita bread. So there's a couple of options here as well if you don't have potatoes.
I gotta go grab Margot. She's bothering her brother. We'll be right back.
No worries, we're good here. So we're gonna keep slicing our potatoes. I'm curious if anybody out there is going to do a different flavor besides olive oil and salt. Maxwell, what kind of potato chips do you like? Do you like flavored potato chips or do you like just salt?
Salt.
Just salt. Maxwell is snacking on Pop on the Block popcorn, which we love, and set that we can't get anymore right now. Maybe one day we'll do a popcorn class.
It's so yummy.
It is so yummy. So what flavor do you like for potato chips? Do you like sea salt and vinegar? Just salt. Just plain salt. Oh, salt and vinegar, and Marin's gonna do Old Bay. I love it. That sounds delicious. So we're gonna get this going. Get these soon.
And Jen, I thought you were gonna say if you don't have potatoes,
I have mommy.
you could use carrots or like another root vegetable.
Oh, interesting. I bet you could. They might get. I'm trying to think. Like we've done parsnip fries in the past.
Right.
And those are delicious. They might just take a little bit longer to get crispy,
Experiment with that.
but I bet they'd be delicious. We lost Maxwell. You can go play in there, Maxwell.
Yeah, Wes is enthralled with a new sent in the mail. So thank God for Nana.
He's involved with what in the mail?
He got a new toy this morning. Some sort
Oh,
of
wonderful. Yeah.
transformer thing that lights up and makes noise. So I won't see him for a while.
So you're good. Once you've done your potatoes, I might do one more. And again, you just kind of can add as much or as little salt as you want and as much olive oil just to coat. I'm going to do one big potato here. It's about a pound of potatoes that you want to do, but it's really however many you have on hand and however many you want to make.
Right. I'm reserving you because I'm hoping to make powder tonight. It seems like a good night for.
Oh, that sounds delicious. Once you've made them, you're going to lay them out in a single layer on a pan. And to make sure that they don't stick, if you happen to have some cooking spray, you can spray that on your pan or use a piece of parchment. Oh, thanks, Maxwell. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. But you want them in a single layer. And then we're going to put them in the oven we're going to keep checking them because we don't want them to burn and they can go pretty quick. So we've got 12 to 15 minutes.
Okay.
Once we get them in the oven. It's hard to get, once you get to the last bits, it's a little hard to get them thin. That's where a mandolin really works.
Right. Yeah, I figured if I save these ends, I could throw those in the chowder. So.
One other point I want to make with knife skills, if anybody's doing using a knife, one of the ways we teach knife skills, if you make a perfect sign like this, and you pick up your knife by the blade, right where the blade meets the handle, with the part of the sign that's the perfect sign there, you pick it up like that, and then you take the rest of the 3 fingers and wrap it around. And that's how you want to hold your knife to keep it nice and steady. Oftentimes I see kids and grown-ups holding it like this, you don't have as much control when your finger's on top. So we always say, make the sign, pick up with these two fingers, and then wrap your fingers around the handle. And that way you have nice, good control of your blade. Okay, so, yes, Maxwell.
What does this say?
That says, cookies and cream, pop on the block.
But what will this say?
That says coal, because I think those are coals from, but that's okay, we're sharing them now. So you're just gonna toss your potatoes.
Hi, guys.
Hi, Wes, how you doing? How's your new toy?
You want to show Maxwell your toy?
New toy.
Final Transformer.
Oh.
What color is this?
All right, go get it.
Yay. Maxwell would like to see it if
Like
it's
you.
nearby.
Want to see my toy?
Yeah, we want to see your toy. too.
And so the other thing you could add here is pepper. I like salt and pepper chips, but I think my kids probably prefer just the
Okay.
olive oil. I'm gonna add just a little bit more olive oil because I can notice that
You don't need to growl.
they're not coated. So I'm just gonna add a little bit more. Okay, and we're gonna get them on a tray in the oven, and this is our ketchup and our aioli.
All right. So are those in the back up, please. The 425-degree oven for how long, Jen?
About 12 to 15 minutes.
Okay.
I'm gonna do some parchment so it doesn't stick.
No. Do you have to flip them?
You don't have to, no. You can if yours are a little thicker. Flipping them might work. Actually, I should say I read a couple recipes that said to flip them and a couple that said don't worry about it. So
Yeah, I feel like it's probably going to help them get crisp, but it's like kind of annoying to have to do that. So it depends how important that is to you.
I think that's exactly right. I feel like there's a lot of like wiggle room in some of these recipes of like, yeah, it would be good if you did that. It would probably make them look better, but you've got the time.
All right.
All right, so spreading mine out.
For new Peppa Pig magnetic dress-up doll. Very cool.
Whoa, that's so cool, Margot. I love it.
Did you turn that off or change the player on? Pretty loud.
All right, let's see. So mine are just about spread out.
Mom, do you like it?
I really do like it. It looks pretty cool to me. What do you think? I'm gonna take some of these out because they're little. I'm gonna take some of my thicker ones and I'll cook those later. Let's see. So we're just about spread out in a single layer. How's everybody doing out there?
All right. You can have a little taste of honey. Yeah. You gonna help me make the ketchup? Here, come on over here.
Okay. Mine are just about spread out. I have a couple more to
Your stool over, and I'll get a
spread out, but I'm almost done. Let's see. How's everybody else ready to go in the oven? Anybody else already in the oven?
potatoes are in over here. So I put a timer on for 12, and I figured I'd check them and see if they were.
That's perfect. Do you want to go ahead and get started on the ketchup while I get mine in the oven? Or do you need me to go? Oh, I lost Laura.
She was trying to move her chair over to help me, and she banged her mouth.
Oh, no. All right, take a second. We're good.
All right. You're going to be my helper. It's okay. All right. So,
oops, hold on.
What happened?
Oh, we got it, Laura. I'll start on the aioli, okay? Go ahead. So I'm going to set my timer as well for 12 minutes.
I think we're okay, actually. She'll recover.
Okay.
All right. So I had never.
So Marin's still preheating. Olivia's got it. Okay, Maxwell, this is going to be a good one for you. So we'll go ahead and get started on the aioli. And I'm going to put up a banner here that has the ingredients. So if you're making aioli, yeah.
Could I taste a little bit?
1 second. Let me just get some things taken away here. We're going to hide the banner. Okay. So here's the recipe for the aioli. Ooh, you love lemon by itself. You know what? I'll tell you what. When we finish squeezing the lemon, you can have what's left. Okay. So we're going to work on the aioli. So
How could we squeeze it?
yes, we are going to squeeze it.
Yes.
We're going to do 2 cloves of garlic. And the garlic, I'm actually brought out my trusty mortar and pestle. I actually haven't used this for a while, so I'm glad to have a reason to use it. And Maxwell is going to love it. You could also use the bottom of a glass and a bigger bowl to crush the garlic, or you can do it sort of the way that you may typically do it on a cutting board. So I'm going to show a couple of ways. Maxwell, are you going to do a little mashing for me? I'm going to mash the garlic just a little bit. Okay, you got to get in your seat because I'm going to move it over here for you. Can you get in your seat? All right, so I've got my garlic ready to go here. And we're gonna add to the garlic about a quarter of a teaspoon of salt. So let me get my salt here. Hold on, Michael. So here's what I'm gonna show you. We're gonna add the salt. When you add salt to garlic, if you're chopping it, it actually can help get it into a nice paste. So if you're using, keep on going there, bud. If you're gonna use a cutting board, if you put your garlic in a little pile and add a little bit of salt to it, no, go like this. You're gonna push, you're gonna smush like this. A nice paste. Can you push and smush? So when you use a mortar and pestle, you wanna kind of push and turn and make it into a paste. If you're using your garlic on a cutting board, hi sweetie, you okay? You're gonna chop it. And when you have the salt, it provides a little bit of like,
Can I chop it?
yeah, you can chop it with the mezzaluna.
No, I want to do it with that.
I'm gonna hold this knife. You can do it with me with this knife or by yourself with the mezzaluna. Okay. But when you finish making a couple chops, you bring it together in a pile, and then you kind of press down, and the salt is gonna kind of help to make it into a paste and to cut it up. You get it into a pile. You do a little more chopping. You can make it into a paste again. Do a little more chopping. So you want to do the mezzaluna? No, you can't do that, but you can do the mezzaluna. It is clean enough. I'm going to come over here. So once we've done that, we're going to get our garlic mashed into a paste. Maxwell, you want to keep working on that? And that's looking really good. And this is just so that it really spreads out that garlicky flavor. Maxwell, you want to go like this? Go chop, 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 chop. Wiggle back and forth. Yeah. The mezzaluna is great for chopping. So you make it in a pile, and you go back and forth like that. Can you try that? All right, and then we're going to whisk in the lemon juice into our bowl, the mayonnaise, and that's it. That's our aioli. A couple of other options for dipping sauces. If you mix some mayonnaise with sriracha, guess what you get?
Yeah.
Mayonnaise. I love that on fish tacos. You could also use Frank's hot sauce to make like a buffalo wing dipping sauce, which would be really delicious. I'm going to go ahead and squeeze my lemon. I'm going to add my mayonnaise, and we are good to go. So should I put up the ketchup next?
Yes, I think we're ready. Oh boy. Okay. It's a little out of order, but that's okay because it doesn't really matter. So Margot, you're going to help me spoon all of this into the bowl. So I had never made my own ketchup before we made it at the farmhouse together, and I brought it home that night and made something for dinner just to be able to put the ketchup on it. So good. Can
I interrupt you for just 1 second? We had a question about the Cuisinart to slice the potatoes. I think that's good. You just don't want to use a Cuisinart to make mashed potatoes because they can get really gummy. But I think for slicing it would be fine. Maxwell, you did a great job. What do you want to get? We don't have them, but after the class, maybe we'll look a little bit more. Okay, sorry, Laura, go ahead.
No problem. Okay, so you start with a 6-ounce can of tomato paste.
Okay.
That's the base of the ketchup. And then you're going to add a 1/4 cup of honey or agave. We have honey today. Next time I use the spoon. Okay. Because obviously that's going to add nice sweetness to the ketchup. All right, you like that. And then,
okay, so you add the tomato paste, the honey, and the white vinegar all together?
Yep, half a cup of white vinegar.
Okay. And I've got the whole list up on the screen.
There you go. You add that in. And you know what?
Oh, Margot's having a rough one.
Oh my God.
And then we're gonna add. Do you add the water at the same time?
Yep. So you're really just adding it all to the bowl and stirring it to combine. So the honey, vinegar, and water. Let's show what it looks like. So just those 4. It's starting
Okay.
to catch up.
You did that in a bowl. You can do that right on the stovetop, right?
Sorry.
I got it, Laura. I got it. I'm okay. You could add the tomato paste, the honey, and the vinegar and the water with the sugar, the salt, the onion powder, the garlic powder. You put that up on your, you put that in a pot, and you start to stir it, and then you're just going to cook it right at a low boil, Laura. I think we lost her for just a second.
Okay, sorry. So the plan is to combine it in a bowl and then put it on the stovetop, just to really let some of the liquid evaporate and for the flavors to come together. So it's, you're not cooking it so much as just like boiling it down, or I shouldn't say boil, because you need to bring it to a boil, but letting it simmer so that it gets combined and a little bit thicker.
So you're just combining and then cooking it down until it gets thicker. And that's kind of it for the mayonnaise. We did this with parsnip fries, as I mentioned before, in one of our classes, and it was a huge hit. It has it doesn't taste exactly like ketchup, but it certainly tastes kind of like ketchup, and it's a really nice dipping sauce. So I'm finishing up my aioli here, and I'm just going to whisk together my lemon juice, my garlic, and my mayonnaise here, and it's going to make a nice garlic aioli, which I think will be delicious. I may add some pepper to mine because I think that would be really good. The longer it sits in the fridge, if you sit it in the fridge for an hour or so, it's going to be better. But it'll taste pretty good now. It just takes a little bit to get the flavors to combine. So again, if you wanted to do a sriracha mayo, which is one of my favorite for French fries, just a little bit, like a tablespoon of the sriracha and 2 or 3 tablespoons of the mayonnaise, depending on how spicy you want it to be. I'm going to taste my. That tastes so good. I cannot wait for my garlic mayo to be, my potato chips to be ready. I've got about 4 minutes left, and they're sizzling away. I'm going to move my.
We don't. No.
Laura, how long do you cook the ketchup for?
I'm trying to remember actually. I think it's about like 5 to 10 minutes, just kind of stirring it until it gets like a nice thick consistency.
Okay.
We don't need any more
How's
sugar.
everybody doing out there? Has everybody got their chips in the oven?
And I don't have garlic powder and onion powder at home right now, so I was thinking of adding some curry powder and making like a curry ketchup. I know
That'd be delicious.
I love the curry flavor, so we're gonna try that.
And if you add chili powder has onion and garlic in it, I believe, and also a little bit of chili, so it might just make like a little bit of like a spicy ketchup. Or cumin might be really good as well.
Yeah, I think it could be fun to experiment a little bit.
Okay, so Cora made the aioli. I hope that came up. Does anybody have any questions? Cora said she loves your dress. Can I see that look? Cora said she loves your dress. Can I see it?
Oh, show them your dress.
It's so pretty, Margot. It's great.
Not a happy camper because she wants to eat the sugar. She just wants to eat spoon.
Oh, I get it. We have some of those as well.
Don't we all?
Oh, Nita, I'm going to put something up here for you, Laura, for you to read. It says, "Love your lives." There are days where it doesn't feel so great, but that's so nice to see. Maxwell, let's take a look at our potato chips and see how they're doing. We're going to take a quick peek. We're about 2 minutes away from 12 minutes, but mine are still needing a couple more minutes.
All right, I'm going to take a look as well. Our timer just went off. Margo, you help me. Let's look. Ooh. All right, let me see if I can pull this up so you can see what they look like.
And I'm curious to know, while we're waiting, I would love to hear from those of you who are watching what you're cooking this weekend. What's on the menu? I've had this sort of idea that I want to start logging an oral history of sort of what people cooked while we were home.
Right. Well, over here I have bread dough going.
Oh, wow. Oh, Laura, I can't wait till you said you might.
Yeah, I can bring some tomorrow morning.
That's amazing. I would love that. Laura said she would share some of her starter with me.
Yeah, so I'll leave it in the mailbox, and that can be your Saturday project.
I promise I will keep it alive. Laura had made some starter for bread, and she said she would share a little bit with me, so I'm excited about that. We've been doing pizza night on Friday night. I know, Marin, I know you guys do pizza. We've been making our own dough. I found some yeast, which I was very excited about. And so I had run out, or I was close to running out. I had one packet left, but I'm going to make some pizza dough this afternoon. If anybody wants us to do a demo on that, that's a really fun one. Amy and Olivia said they're making homemade pizza. Oh, and lemon pepper chicken wings. Oh, I can't wait to hear about that. And
This is a Christmas.
can you put it on? That is a Christmas thing. Where did you get that?
Oh, from inside the basket.
Oh, okay. And let's see. Oh, so Marin, oh, that's so easy. Yes, I will definitely get you pizza dough. Can you add 2 more minutes so you can press? We're going to turn this clock. Sorry, we're going to go for 3 more minutes.
So on my list,
Mommy, I found a flipper. Mommy, I found a flipper.
Oh, you did find a flipper. Sorry about that. Just was getting my oven going a little bit more. So Nita asked where we found yeast. We got it at McQuaid's actually, locally here. But I also ordered a pound of it from King Arthur Flour, and they said they had it in stock, but it hasn't shipped yet. So I think I'll be in good shape once that arrives.
we'll just be like baking.
Yeah, so maybe when folks get some yeast, we can do some homemade pizza dough. Because it's like one of those things that once I started doing it, I thought, why was I buying pizza dough? It's really so simple. You mix your flour and your olive oil and yeast together.
What's this?
This is a toothpick for picking up things at a cocktail party.
Oh.
Maxwell has found my china cabinet where he's exploring. It's yeast, flour, sugar. You mix that all together, and you just basically you get it, mix it together, and knead it, and then you let it sit for like an hour. And it's ready to go.
I got this book for Christmas, and I've been working my way through it. I highly recommend it. And it has a recipe for pizza dough, and then like variations on that, so you can make focaccia, all sorts of different loaves of bread. So if you're looking for something that I think you could probably order off Amazon, this was a good one.
Oh, amazing! Yeah, that sounds great. And I have a comment here.
I found teacups.
Oh my goodness, you found teacups. We're gonna leave those right in there, okay? Okay. Sourdough English muffins. I can't wait to hear about those. That sounds so good. So I'm going to check my potatoes again. They are just starting to brown for me. They're not quite there yet. How about you, Laura?
Yeah, a few of them that are thinner, like the very thin slices have browned, but I do have a few that are thick. So I'm going to just turn it again and give it another 3 or 4 minutes.
And let's see, we have homemade, Summer says they do pizza night too, with tapioca flour. That sounds interesting. And that sounds unbelievable. That sounds delicious. And some water too, she added. Homemade apple cakes for the weekend. Enzo said, that sounds good. Yes, Kristen mentioned that you can make fried dough. So Kristen, when I was growing up, we made zepalas. So that was one of my favorite mornings. I still can remember the smell before we came down. But it was pizza dough and basically created into like little patties and fried with sugar on top. I'm not sure what those are. You can do all this after?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's amazing. Yes, fried dough is so good. A little cinnamon and sugar on that, and it's absolutely perfect. How's everybody else's potatoes going out there? Anybody else doing some potatoes and ketchup? How's the ketchup looking?
So the ketchup, it actually has just started to boil just a little bit. bubbles coming up. So I turned the heat down and just gave it a stir. You definitely don't want it to burn on the bottom of the pan. But
Yeah.
it's thickening up. So I would say in the next like 4 minutes or so, I'm going to pull it off and then just let it.
I think if you cook it on low for a while, it's just going to get thicker and thicker.
Right.
So Amy says that her and Olivia said that theirs are getting crispier now. Mine are too. Some of my thinner ones are starting to brown. I'm going to pull one out. I'm just going to take one for sample because I have one that's done. So obviously the thinner they are, the quicker they're going to go and the crispier they're going to go, but they're going to get thicker and thicker. And I've got a potato chip that's pretty close right here. I'm going to let it cool down a little bit and I'm going to try it with my garlic aioli.
Jen, I don't know if we have a minute now. I could also show the potato stamp as like.
Oh, yes, please do. I'm sorry. I forgot to mention that. Let me put this comment off.
So if you have a bunch of potatoes on hand and you're feeling crafty, something else that we've done that's really easy to do is to make your own stamps out of potatoes. So, you know, if you have older kids, I would say like, you know, 8, 9, 10 and up, they could probably do this themselves, but the little ones, you would make it for them and then just let them play with the stamp. So I just have a sweet potato because I have more of those. And you can make any sort of design if you're better than me, but I stick with pretty simple shapes. So just from this apart, my tip is to use like a pencil or a pen to scratch the design in first. That will kind of like, you know, guide you. And maybe I'll get ambitious and make a W for Wes, and upside down that will look kind of like an M for Margot. So scratch it in. Right, so you can see that. And then you need a fairly sharp knife, and it's like you're cutting away so that the shape is higher than the rest of the potato, right? So you kind of just,
yeah.
It's like whittling, I guess. So you kind of cut in until you get to the shape and then start pulling the potato away from that shape. And you can kind of trace over it with your knife to make it a little deeper and more pronounced. And it really isn't hard to do. I think, you know, a kid who has like fairly good motor skills and control could do this. And you can probably get away with doing it with a blunter knife as well. Like if you use it, it's just going to take more effort.
There's a wonderful book that we use at the farm called The Potato King.
Mm-hmm.
I'll try to post a link to it. And it tells the story of how potatoes kind of made their way around the world. And I'm trying to remember, I meant to look it up before, but I think it was in, do you remember what country it was set in?
Like Poland?
I think that's what I was going to say. The King of Poland, I think, had said that he thought potatoes would be really good for the people who lived in Poland. It was a long time ago, but nobody was eating them because it was a new vegetable, a new crop. And so he ended up planting them on his land.
Mommy, guess what?
Oh, I'm telling a story. Hold on.
I need to tell you something.
Okay.
Okay. So, Mommy, guess what?
Actually, hold on one second. I'm going to tell this quick story.
I was sitting and playing the game,
Uh-huh.
and then I walked around the whole house without him even seeing.
Oh my goodness, you were sneaky. And there's a quick question that Amy was asking if you need to flip them. You don't need to flip them. You can if you want to, but you don't need to. Anyways, the king of Poland had planted the potatoes and he hired guards to hire them so that everybody in his town, in his country would believe that these were very, very special plants and that they were just for him. And then he ordered all his guards one night to fall asleep and to stay asleep so that people would come and steal them. And because people now really wanted them because they seemed so special. When the guards fell asleep, people stole the potatoes and started planting them themselves. And that's how Poland started growing potatoes. So that's the story. You did it again?
Marketing genius.
What?
Yes, marketing. Exactly. Mine are getting nice and crispy.
Mommy, I did it again like this.
Okay.
And
I'm going to go ahead and dip mine. Maxwell, you want to taste a potato chip?
yeah.
I'm going to give you the crispy part. Here's a potato chip for you.
Okay.
And Laura has her.
Mom, these are not salty.
They're not salty enough? Okay. Maxwell says they're not salty enough, which is actually good to know
Yeah, that's an easy.
Yeah, Potato King. Oh, I love it. Thank you so much for being so helpful. I'm going to put that up on the board here.
Ooh, these look good,
If
Margot.
they're not salty enough, add salt as soon as you take them out of the oven, and they're going to be nice and crispy and salty. Let's see, we had another comment. Yes, Nita, that is the book. That's exactly right, The Potato King. It's a really fun book, and what I love about it is that all the images are with potato stamps, which is really, really fun. How are you, Laura? They're looking good?
Yes, a few of them are like very much chip-like, like crunchy and round. A few need a few more minutes, so I'm just gonna pull out the ones that are done.
Yeah.
Those separately. You know, but if I slice them better.
Yeah. I'm going to grab mine out just to take a look.
Yeah, you're thank you.
In a moment. I'm going to take mine out. One second. Can you back up, Maxwell? Because it's really hot. Yeah, Laura, I'm about the same as you. So I'm just going to show these. And then I think we can let everybody.
Okay, hold on.
So here's mine. I'm going to let them go even a little bit longer. A couple of them, like you said, are nice and crispy, like potatoes, but a couple could use just a few extra minutes. Here's one that's kind of perfect. That might be a perfect potato chip. This is really hot. We're going to let them go for just another minute or two. And there you go. The ketchup, like I said, the longer you cook them, the ketchup, the thicker it'll get. But it's going to have a nice, good flavor regardless. And Olivia, I'm so glad yours are delicious. The one I had was so good. I love the garlic aioli. I'm curious to hear how the ketchup came out for everybody. And I would like to just say thank you again for joining us and supporting us. You did it again, Max.
Television over here.
Bye, Margot. Oh, new outfit.
Oh yeah, she's got her smock on because she jumped into the paint. So.
Oh, all right.
Okay.
Well, Margot, it was lovely to see you again. Thank you for coming to cooking. There's Maxwell. We will see you on Monday. Have a wonderful weekend. This is my favorite part of the day. It's so good to connect. And we'll come back at you on Monday with lots of new ideas. If you have anything you want us to try or any ideas or anything you think we would be really great to show, let us know. And if anybody wants to be a guest, we're happy to have you as well.
Oh, that could be fun, like sharing family recipes.
Yeah, it'd be really fun. So we could definitely very easily get you guys on the live stream with us.
Oh, okay.
All right. Have a good weekend, everybody.
Talk to you later.
You did it again. Awesome.
Get paint on your potato chips.